What's going on, everyone? My name is Jonmarc Rasberry. I'm currently a 6th grade social studies teacher here at North Parkway Middle School. I'm currently also a UT Martin graduate student in my master's in education with a secondary ed concentration. So today we're going to go over the first two standards and Tennessee standards of history, which are talking about 6.01, which is identifying the meaning of time designations and abbreviations used by historians, which include BC to BCE, AD to CE, and the meanings of circa, decades, and centuries. And then we'll be looking at 6.02, which describes the characteristics of nomadic hunters and gatherers in society. But we'll mostly be talking about timelines, be talking about the abbreviations used by historians, what they mean, and that kind of thing. Okay? So, before we get rolling with anything, I just want to introduce Google Classroom. So we go down here to my Google Classroom here, and we go to classwork. You can see that we are now starting the section of early civilizations. And since today I'm making this on Wednesday, we'll come down to Wednesday's lesson. And you'll see here that I have provided all the necessary resources for students, for y'all if you want to access this for 6th grade social studies, which if this is the beginning of the year, there's a 6th grade social studies syllabus, so they can bring home to the parents. They kind of know what to expect, the rules, regulations, procedures for my classroom, and all the other stuff that I would have on the first day. Okay, they have the text, they have the timeline due now, which since this is beginning class, they will be working on do now for the first about 5 to 10 minutes. They would be working on that, and once they were done with the do now, then we would go over the do now together. I would assess how these students were, how they answered, they get the concept, what I'm trying to introduce, basically get the fundamental understanding of the classroom and fundamental understanding of where we are starting with the material. As well, I got exit ticket for this whole week, which will be on one document so students can edit on their own time as well. And then that comes with a rubric and the think sheet that they will have in the middle and the end of class here. We have just went over the do now. We have talked and discussed about their answers, what we thought about the questions on the do now. Now we're getting into the lecture part of it, of the lesson here. So I'm going to start this lesson with drawing the timeline. And I would do this with a I do, we do, you do on your own basis. So we'll start with the timeline. I will tell all the students to draw one line, just like this. On either, if they're online, use PowerPoint or Google Docs to draw that line, or Google Draw even to draw that line, or a piece of paper if they're here in person. So I will give them certain events and certain dates that they would have to put in a timeline together. So before they did it, I would do it. And the best way that I can put for students to really understand how to draw a timeline is to make it relevant to them. Okay, how do I make it more relevant to them? I like sports. Most of them do too. So we'll come up here and we'll say, I don't know, Super Bowls. We'll put the Super Bowls in order. So Super Bowl 1, 21, 35, 7, and 10. And then I will ask the students, which one do you think will come first? And hopefully they will say Super Bowl 1. And I'll ask them, which one comes next? And then we will repeat this process until the timeline is full, like so. Okay, now comes the we do part. So I'll have all these dates up here. Their job is to, as best as they can, put all these dates in order, in chronological order. Meaning, BC will be on this side, AD/CE will be on this side. And they will have to put all these dates in correct order. Okay, after the we do part, it should look something like this. They have all the dates in order, and they see AD, BC, BCE, and CE. And now the general question would be, what do those mean? And then I will go on to explain that BC means before Christ, and that this time in history, that this is when Christ died in the Christian religion. So anything past Christ's death is now in numerical order. However, anything before that was, as they say, like in a number line. Okay, negatives go this way, positives go this way. You start here, 1, 2, 3, and you make all your way down to, well, in the case of this timeline, 1600 BC, BCE, compared to this side of the timeline, the number line. Okay, you start 1, 2, 3, all the way down to present day, which is, of course, 2021. Okay, after the we do process, they do it. So online and in person as well, they'll have a project to go along with this lesson. So the project will be them creating their own timeline. Okay, so behind me is the rubric for this project. And it's broken down into, I believe, 5 categories. Use of pictures, technology connection, content details, errors, and organization. So each of these will be graded on excellent, good, average, or poor value. So the students can read for themselves that the use of pictures and videos in their presentation and their PowerPoint, having more 4 images and videos were used will get them a 4. And you can see that if you add up all those 4s, we'll have a total points of 20 points for this assignment. Okay, in conclusion for this lesson of timelines and BC/BCE and AD/CE, we'll take a look at the end of class, this think sheet. Now this will be accessible for students online in Google Classroom, as is on the Wednesday lesson, and it also will be accessible to students as well if they're at home and they forgot their homework assignment or anything like that, they forgot school or anything like that, they will be able to have the opportunity to work on anything from home as well. So this think sheet has different levels of questions. Okay, there's 2 lower level questions and there are 4 upper level questions. So the 2 lower level questions are just basic, what are these questions? And question 1 says, identify the meaning of BC/BCE. So students will take the time, from class, they take notes, they learn from lecture or presentation or a video, however they learn, and then they will begin to answer 1 and 2. Number 3 is a little bit more applicable to them. So they would have to put these events in correct order. If they want to draw the timeline and do it that way, I prefer it that way. If they wanted to just put like a number next to them, that's completely fine as well. As long as they have the concept of putting these events in chronological order. Scrolling up, you'll see that number 4 is talking about drawing out a timeline and the following dates in the timeline. So it's asking the students to identify where BC/BC is, AD/CE is on the timeline, and then to put all these events in chronological order as well. And this last question, number 5, says to analyze the timeline below and correct the timeline. So this is their problem solving skills. They would be able to look at this timeline here and say, this is not right or that's not right. They'll be able to identify the problem with this timeline here on number 5. After this concludes our lesson, and we will begin the same process tomorrow.